Hello guys. Today for movie theater reviews. Today we are gonna. I got a few coming up actually. A few reviews. I've been to the theaters quite a bit, so yeah. Got a few of those coming up. Not streaming quite yet. Don't have the internet for that, unfortunately. But got some coming up here. First is the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I think I reviewed the first one a while back on Fen Recommends, and I liked it enough. Liked it pretty well, but this one, we'll get to that in a bit here. This came out in 2021, of course, it's rated R, it's hour 40. Has 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb with about 5,700-ish user votes. It has a 32% on Metacritic with 36 critics. It stars Ryan Reynolds, who we know from Deadpool, and Samuel Jackson, who's in uh, Pulp Fiction, a bunch of other stuff. It's directed by Patrick Hughes, who also did the first Hitman's Bodyguard movie. It has 26% on Rotten Tomatoes by critics, with about 172 critics, and 79% by audience people, with 2,900-ish user audience people. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is, despite the charms of its ensemble, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard fails to protect the audience from repetitive entire genre tropes. Now that's on the app. Now I do know that that on the actual site they do have audience consensus, and I should start doing that actually. So I'm gonna look that up here. Um, but yeah, the big thing these about this movie is, let's see, audience. The audience says this: while the language might be rough for some viewers, this over-the-top sequel is carried along by plenty of action, comedy, and chemistry between the stars. Audience, like language. All right, so one thing about the first one, I like, it felt balanced to me. It felt like balance, and to be honest, the dialogue felt interesting because it wasn't, I wouldn't say a Shakespearean film, but I like that they tried to put a parallel between a bodyguard and a hitman, and they showed a lot of parallels. They threw that out the window in this one. There's no mirroring at all in this. It's pretty much based on what the trailers show and everything. Um, it's not a secret. It's been known for a while that the lady who played Ryan Reynolds' girlfriend in this movie, she's not in this film, and they don't. And the only thing they don't really address that film other than the fact that he's not with anyone. So really, what this whole movie is, the whole movie is pretty much him helping, Samuel Jackson and his wife out, and that's just kind of him, the helper. He is very third wheelie in this movie, and to be honest, it is funny. It is funny, but the story isn't as strong as the first movie. The first movie I felt like had a better story because there had a sense of balance and parallels, while this movie is just pretty much Ryan Reynolds just getting shit on the whole movie, which is hilarious. But it really, in terms of character development, it's really, in all honesty, it's kind of a step backwards for him. And they kind of sacrifice character development for the sake of just being funny, which works in the short run. But if you really think about it, it's like, man, they kind of shit on him a bit. Yeah, the first film had a lot of good character looks, and this one is just more, just kind of who gives this just torture people for the sake of torture. That is, if you look up a director's quote, he said that one of his big things for this movie, he said he just wanted to make Ryan Reynolds' character as miserable as possible. I'm just like, because apparently in the first film that was kind of like the first like run into it. I'm just like, eh. Now, to be honest, I kind of, the action in this film, is it better than the first movie? To be honest, it is a little bit, but it is a little bit better, I think. And there is a lot more of Samuel Jackson's wife in this, which was a huge positive. But I mean, between her and Ryan Reynolds' girlfriend in the first movie, I think she's a better character. So there's not. It's just the biggest issue I have with this film is that why not? Why I miss the parallel. However, there are other parallels in this movie, actually, specifically in the fight scenes. There's a lot of parallels, actually, in this movie. It's just the only one that's actually important they cut out. The rest of them are cool for the fighting sequences, and there is some for character development, but it's a different character development to Samuel Jackson. So there's not really much of a parallel. Yeah, it's kind of a weird movie to think about because if on paper it just looks like another action movie, but if you really compare the two films, I don't think it's as good. However, is it worth a watch? Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's funny. Action's good. It is hilarious, to be honest. I mean, yeah, the only problem I have with this movie is that I just feel like they kind of sacrifice character development for more laughs, and I don't know how I feel about it. But overall, it was a fine movie. I do like it. I do suggest checking it out. It should be still be in theaters, but I'm not sure. It has been a bit since me and my wife saw it, Corey. So it's kind of been a minute, but we'll have to see.